Today we're going to talk about my number one favorite retirement structure and tax structure for that matter for the self-employed. It's really defined benefit plans. I mean, there's not a lot of other things that self-employed people can do to get such a large bang for the buck. These plans are available to people who are sole proprietors, even single member S Corps. The self-employed have a lot of options. You don't have to have a lot of employees to be able to set these plans up. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons for these plans for self-employed people. First of all, we're going to talk about the pros. So the number one pro is that you get very large contributions into these plans, and they're tax deductible contributions. Because these are qualified plans, you get the tax deduction on the front end. You do have to pay tax on the back end, but presumably that's going to be at a much lower rate. These plans are typically rolled over into IRAs, and then you can take them out of your IRA upon retirement. Okay, it's the number one pro. Another big pro is the fact that you're not locked into a given amount every year. You get a variety of ranges. So we can structure a plan in different ways, but typically we'll structure it so, for example, you might be able to contribute $50,000 on the low end, but maybe $200,000 on the high end. So you got a very, very comfortable range that you can pick and choose to be able to get an amount of money into the plan. Third, another big benefit of these plans, especially when you work with us, is that you can set them up on pretty much any custodian platform. When you come to us at Empyrean, we'll set up the plan for you, but part of our process is onboarding the plan and getting you set up with your custodian. So we set you up with a retirement administrator. That person will ask you, hey, who do you want to work with for your investments? You want to work with Vanguard? Great. Here's a person to call. Here's the forms you got to fill out. We'll show you examples of how to fill them out, and you get it set up, and you call this number and you get it set up. So we try to make it simple and easy for you to use these plans on any platform, so you're in charge of your investments. You don't have to have an annuity, or we're not going to manage your money for you or anything like that. So you're really in charge. So that's what makes it very good. Another big advantage that you've got to these plans is the fact that they do combine with 401k plans. So a lot of people come to us with solo 401ks. You can combine them with solo 401ks. You do have limits. You have restrictions on profit sharing, usually to 6%. So you got to keep your restrictions in mind. It can get a little bit more convoluted for people who are sole proprietors. So certainly reach out to us and we'll show you how that 6% rule works. But bottom line is you can combine them with those plans. And so it makes your structure very nice and very flexible. What are the downsides of these plans for sole proprietors? They're permanent in nature. You want to have them open at least a few years. You do have some mandatory contributions to the plans. And obviously the cost to the plan, they're going to cost, a couple $1,000s a year usually to administer. So they're not necessarily a cheap plan, but look, if you've got a 40% tax bracket, and you want to get $100,000 in, you're going to cut 40 grand off your tax bill. So these plans can be absolute home runs for sole proprietors. And if you've got a 3-year horizon that you can commit to, they're great. Our typical client has them 5 to 7 years. But I think if you've got a 3 to 5 year horizon, they can work great. You can stash away a chunk of money. When you go to terminate it, maybe you got $500,000, $1 million bucks in the plan. You just roll it over into an IRA. Structure can work very well. So bottom line, if you're self-employed, make sure you consider these plans as part of your overall, not just your tax structure, but your retirement structure, so that you can stash some money in, especially in your high earning years, and make sure that you've got a very flexible way to get these plans out upon retirement. If you have any other questions, make sure you reach out to us. We'll run a custom illustration for you, and we'll tell you how to structure these plans for maximum benefit for you and your business.